Welcome back to another cartoonsmart.com tutorial, and we're going to make a cartoony game artish style mountain range. It should look nicely stylized and could be used in the background of any of your games. If you do get a hold of the source projects, then they are yours to use however you want. So let's grab the stroke tool, and we need to actually put a stroke on here. All right. And let's be sure that snap to objects is turned on. That's all we're going to use to draw with for right now. So what I'm going to do is just make some nice kind of very pointy stylized sections of a mountain. And actually I could probably get away with just a couple of these, and then we'll end up reusing them. So I'm going to take these points kind of down just a little bit further, and what I want to do with this final one is make sure it intersects all three of these. You can hold down the shift key if you want a perfectly straight line. Once it's done that, just go ahead and select and delete out, and I'm just cutting them out. The part that's overhanging. Actually, come to think, I didn't even really need to, because we're going to delete out all these strokes in a moment. What we're going to do is just use the paint bucket and fill in some pretty colors over here. So nice kind of hot green, maybe even, yeah, that's probably hot enough. And then let's go with a little bit of a darker one up on top, maybe even slightly darker than that. So just using the standard ones, standard color swatches. I just double clicked on that line. I got rid of it. Okay, real quick and easy way to get rid of it, and hit the delete key. And now what we're going to do is convert this into a symbol. So hit F8 on the keyboard. We'll call this just our little fragment over there. And now what we can start to do is copy and paste this. It's always a good idea to learn the hotkey for paste in place. And you can see that the hotkeys are always listed over here to the side, but you just hold down the shift key and use your usual paste hotkey. So it's going to just take that symbol and paste it right back on top of the other one. And hit the Q key. That's going to be the free transform hotkey. Okay, so anytime you see this highlighted, just think of Q, as in, I don't know, you're questioning what's going on maybe. And using the free transform tool, we can do all sorts of skews. We can, we can rotate it. We don't really want to rotate this, but we could also, stretch it out, do some fun things like that. So scale it down, up skew it, and what we'll start to do is basically just make our range out of these shapes. We can also duplicate this symbol. So let me take one off over here to the side, and I'm just going to hit, I have a hotkey set up for Command D for this, and you can always reset your hotkeys, your keyboard shortcuts. And what this is going to do is it's going to duplicate the symbol. So it's going to make a unique instance of this, so fragment 2, and you'll notice that this is now going to be a unique copy of it. So if I were to go in here and say, take the distort tool, right, and just distort this guy, it's having no effect on the other ones over there. All right, so now I've got kind of more of a squarish version of that. Not sure if I really want a square version, but there it is. Well, yeah, it'll fill it. It could fit in nicely over here. And of course, if you want to see that this actually occurred, so in the library, you've got fragment and fragment 2, and you can go to the library at any time by going over here. And yeah, that's pretty much what we're going to be up to. I'm going to go ahead and put this behind this other shape, and there's some great hotkeys to learn for this. If you feel like you've learned enough hotkeys for right now, it's okay. But I could send this backward or send it back. Send it backward is going to go all the way to the back, so I'm just going to undo that. But I can just send it backward, okay, and that's probably the more useful of those hotkeys is to just learn that one. And in my case, I'll use Command down to do that. So you can see I've now kind of visually, it seems like these shapes are kind of, been joined together a little bit, and you can have some fun with just kind of playing around with that. So maybe make this a little bit bigger. Put that back there. So just really kind of have some fun with the fact that this is supposed to look rocky. I'm probably going to do one more shape. I feel like we could use one that's kind of got a triangle top that's not as I don't know, tilted, I suppose. Just something like this. And let's use our same colors. So I'm just going to sample that green. If you just hold down on this, right? So hold down on it, you get the swatches. But then if you veer out of there, you can also start to sample other colors. So we're going to do that. And just double click on it, get rid of that, hit F8. So we'll call this fragment 3. And we can begin to use this guy. So it's, you know, if it feels good, put it wherever you want. Okay, and again, as we go through here, right, we can also duplicate, go inside of it, double click, and hit the Q key. Then you get your sub transformation settings, so distort. So I could make this whole thing fatter like that. Do some fun stuff like this, right? And ultimately, what we're going to build up should look pretty mountainous, I think. Let's do one where we kind of start to make it feel like the mountain's sloping back down again. I'm going to move the pivot around just so whenever I scale this, it's going to do it pivoting from that point. And, you know, if you get some sections that you like, you know, for example, maybe like these 3, you could always just copy those. Maybe scale them down so it doesn't seem like such a copy, or hopefully people don't notice the copy is what I'm getting at. And just the whole fact that, you know, once these shapes kind of merge into each other with the same color, well, it really kind of breaks the, you know, sense that they have been copied from one another. Right? You'd think we spent a lot of time drawing this whole thing out, and really we haven't. You know. Let's see. Let me grab this one. I'm gonna put this kind of back here. Okay. And maybe skew this up. So again, trying to kind of form. Well, one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to reverse the shading on this. So again, just trying to make a kind of, you know, mountain with a peak. And also one thing that you would see too is that the kind of further you go up the mountain, you know, the smaller things are going to get in detail. So then you might want to start taking, you know, larger chunks of what you've already done and place them in there. All right, something like that. Okay, so, you know, just so we don't drag this on for too long, let's go ahead and just hit F8 on the entire thing. Kind of got almost like a weird logo up there at the top. Probably needs one more, doesn't it? At least one more, like a sharp peak to it. I'm going to duplicate it and then just take that out like that. Yeah, something like that. Okay, so we've got now a symbol. I should probably call this something other than symbol. Let's just call it entire green mountain. Okay, now that we got the whole thing, we could go and have a little bit of fun with this. For example, we could duplicate it, make another one, kind of a one in the background, really. And on this guy, let's go ahead and play around with the color settings. So under properties, you've got filters for your movie clips. And what you could do is you could adjust the color on it. So let's bump the brightness up a bit. Let's take the saturation down. Okay, I'm going to keep bumping that up some. So hopefully what this ends up looking like is kind of a bigger, colder mountain in the background. And, you know, you might not necessarily have these two things right next to each other. Certainly if you were, then you'd want to change the shape of one of them, you know. So I guess we could go in there and just for right now duplicate it and, you know, kind of the dead giveaway is that structure at the top. Let's move some things around. But what we'll do is in a moment we'll just draw a some clouds over here at the top, and we'll, you know, if we were going to put these two together, you'd probably want to blend them in some sort of way, which we can figure out. But yeah, let's do some clouds up here at the peak. In fact, let's go in and I'm just going to double click inside of here one more time. I might grab the entire thing and see if I can put it up at the top. So there we go. Yes, much more of a looming ominous mountain now, and certainly I don't think too many people would notice the repeating shapes inside of there. Let's see. Maybe move that down a little bit. Okay, yeah, so much so we've kind of broken our stage a little bit. Or broken out of it. All right, real easy clouds. Grab the, just not the white, not the full white, just the one above that over there. I'm going to make a new layer to work on real quick, and I'm going to go through here. Don't need the stroke on. Let's go ahead and take that off. So just go over here to this. And as if it's a little hard to see with me drawing on top of that, let's come over here. And I'm just going to draw some circles kind of angling up like so. Okay, so we got a little bit of a swoop on this side. Do the same thing over here. And there we go. Okay, once you've done that, hit F8 on it, convert it to a symbol. And we're going to go over here and add some filters to it. So let's set the drop shadow, and we're going to reverse this or make it an inner shadow. So just click on inner, and then I'm going to take the angle and move it underneath. Okay, and then I'm going to take the blurring all the way down on both of these. And then I'm going to bump up the distance, so we get something like that happening. And then I'm just going to take the strength down so it's not so bright. Or so dark. Then what we're going to do is, if it helps, collapse that. Just go over here to copy selected filter. It's that first option. I know it's getting cut off. And then paste filters. So basically we just paste it in that same filter again. Just makes it a little bit easier, a little faster. And I'm going to switch the color to white. And this time around I'm going to flip around the angle so it's now up on the top. I'm going to bump the strength up significantly, and just going to put the little silver lining right on the top of that guy. Okay, so once you've got that, then you can kind of play around with how it's going to look against this mountain. So you might decide, well, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and tint this a little bit, and you'll notice that if you put one of these color effect tints on, it's going to go ahead and just tint the entire thing, including obviously all your filters over there. And once you feel like you kind of got that right, you know, well, another thing you could do, let's fold this up. Let's put a blur on right at the very end. So set that quality up to high so it looks a little bit prettier. A little bit more quality. And yeah, just a little blur effect. I think definitely looks pretty good on mountains. You could even consider blurring out this entire thing in the background. Yeah, let's just copy it from here. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy this. I'm going to flip it upside down. And one kind of neat thing, sometimes it messes you up a little bit, but one neat thing is that you'll notice that I flipped this upside down, but the filter effects are not flipped. Okay, they're just they look at the original artwork and then they kind of put themselves on top of that. So that's actually what we want in this case, because we wouldn't want to put our silver lining on the cloud in the on the bottom. Okay, yeah, let's see what this would look like with a little bit of a blurring effect. And I feel like too it could even go a little bit whiter. Let's see. Ooh, that's an ominous mountain back there. Okay. Interesting that the clouds are a bit more in focus, but all right. So let's do one more thing here. Sorry, I'm just making this a bit bigger. I'm gonna go ahead and double click inside of here. I'm gonna select everything, so you can just go over here to select all. I'm gonna copy it. I'm gonna paste it just back in place again. So I've now got two layers of the same thing, right? So I can toggle the visibility. You're still seeing the same thing. But on this top one here, I'm just going to break it all apart. And to do that, you're going to go over here to shape. Oh, Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's right there. Break apart. I just did it so many times already. It's already broken apart. Can't break apart any further. But it basically just takes a symbol and it breaks it back down to its original just raw vector artwork form. And now I'm just going to just grab any old color for right now. It's fine. Just to show you guys that we're now just taking everything together and changing the color of it. And then what we'll do is we'll go over here to the little color tab. You could also kind of quickly find a gradient down here at the bottom, but we're going to customize the gradient. So we want to go to the color tab, go over here to linear gradient, and you can see it's actually set the one that I used last, which is exactly what I want. But what you do is you basically just click your little swatches down here, and this is the alpha. So I went ahead and I set it to white, and then that alpha is up at 100%. So you can't see through it. And then this swatch should be also white as well, I believe. And the alpha is all the way down. So you get this type effect in here, right? So, and if you want to adjust the gradient, you can always hit F, okay? And that goes to Gradient Transform Tool. And when you do that, you can see that you can now use these handles to adjust where the gradient is going to be laid out. And you can also rotate it. So if you wanted to make it seem like, it gets a little colder at the top of this mountain, you could certainly do that. That's probably not the effect you're going for right there. It's purely white. But of course, I think you got to sort of pull out here and take a look at the effect, against the other mountain. In my initial sketch for this, I actually had it set this way, and I thought it looked a little bit cooler. And this mountain is maybe a little bit too dark. There's myriad of ways we could deal with that, but you could always, even after adjusting the color over here, you could go to your tint and then sort of apply almost like a color effect on top of that. So it just kind of depends on how cool you want the mountain to ultimately end up looking. And you could always sort of fade things up from the bottom as well. So for example, you could grab, or you can make a new layer. Here, we'll put this guy on our top layer. So we'll call this Green Mountain. And then that's our other stuff. Just, that mountain in the clouds. So above that, what we could do is we could put another gradient in. It looks like I've still got the gradient that I had from before. So, that would be one option. And I'm just drawing I just drew a square out there to kind of put this color into. Let's kind of smush that up. So you could do something like that, right? Another option would be, basically taking the background. So let's duplicate this. So I'm going to hit duplicate on it, call it fade 2. Flip it upside down, and you can do this couple ways. You can go over here to flip vertical, or you can just learn the hotkey for it, which in my case is option and the up arrow. I can't remember if that's the default. And in this, you could tint this to be the same color as the background. Of course, I need to move that out of the way for just a moment. I'll go ahead and sample that, bump that all the way up. And then you could play around with putting it on the same layer as, let's see. Oh, thanks. Notifications. I guess you kind of got to put it over top everything. But let's make it just a... Oop. Oh, still got the wrong thing. There we go. Yeah, in that case, it just blurs out the top a little bit. You can always try it from the bottom as well. That's another option. See how that looks. So, all sorts of different things you can do. I'll just undo it a little bit. I'd probably go for the kind of mistiness at the bottom. And, that could even look good on top of everything as well. So it just sort of depends. Yeah, just don't forget you do have that option to basically tint any gradient. As long as it's totally fading out to something, it do all sorts of different things. Well, that looks kind of nice. Ooh. All right, let's just undo it. Let's set that back to being white again. But yeah, and then obviously, once you get some cool background art in there, you're ready for your kind of your primary art in the front, trees and stuff like that. So really, again, this is just kind of something that's meant to be seen in the background. Do your old parallax effects and everything like that. And now that we do have some foreground stuff in here, then it does seem like you could probably blur this up a little bit more. The background art, even this one too, could probably stand to get blurred out just a bit, so people kind of really see it as just some cool background art back there. Okay, anyway, that'll do it. Maybe I'll get rid of these. And yes, if you're a Cartoon Smart subscriber, feel free to get a hold of the source files and use them in your game. I certainly don't mind.